Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am currently sitting on a sofa that has a coffee table on it, or more accurately my kid's bedside table, which then further on top of that has a bunch of books. This is how my day is going. I am, if you can see and hear in my voice, a little bit sick, but I really wanted to put this video out today because it's the end of the month. It's been about 3 weeks since I started my channel, and I really wanted to do one of these monthly wrap-up videos, especially given this is the first month of my channel. I'm worried that tomorrow I won't have a voice at all, which is why we're doing this today in one take. So this is going to be my monthly retrospective on the channel, what I've done, what I'm going to do next month, what my TBR is, and yeah, just a general summation of how I feel things are going. And I'll tell you, I think things are going really well. Somehow within the first few weeks of this channel, without telling too many of my friends, I've made it to 80 subscribers, which is a really interesting number as a baby YouTuber. Because on the one hand, if you find a channel that has 80 subscribers, you do think, oh, it's a small baby channel, which it is. And if someone comes to you and says, I've got 80 subscribers, as I told my wife this morning, she was more lovely about it. But there's also that thing you might be like, okay, well done. Let me know when you get to 1,000. And that opinion is kind of justified, because within YouTube, you do have people with millions and tens of millions of subscribers, which I don't think a Booktube channel is ever going to get. But at the same time, having 80 subscribers, let me tell you, when it's your subscribers, is kind of strange. Because when you visualize that, when you put the head count there, that's 2.5 rooms full of people watching your videos. And often the videos might even get more views than that. So there is this strange paradox there, where it feels like, you know, it's like cozy and a few people are watching, which is wonderful. And then you kind of think about it, and you kind of, if you stop to think about it too long, you might get a bit intimidated by watching that number grow. But I am delighted that that number is growing to a small extent. I really was expecting my videos to just have a couple of views, and most of that's just me hitting refresh button. It is lovely to see that there is that engagement, and also more importantly that I've made some friends on the channel. And I'll be talking about a couple of those people in a minute, because we're going to be collabing for a couple of discussions on various things next month. But guys, the long and short of it is this month I put out, I think 4 book-specific videos. I had a review of The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb. This is Fool's Errand. I picked the wrong book. The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb, which my daughter has signed, being almost 2 years old. That was a really fun video to make. In fact, that was probably my favorite video to make, because I really just got to gush about this author who I discovered fairly recently, about 1.5 years ago, and I just love her to pieces. I also had tier list reviews of Malazan, Dungeon Crawler Carl, 2 of my favorite series of all time. I do not think they're getting shoved down from the top 5 anytime soon. One thing I'm going to do next month is my top 10, but spoiler alert, Malazan is number 1, Dungeon Crawler Carl is number 3, rapidly approaching number 2. I love those series to pieces, and I'm really glad that I could kind of put them in a line, talk about them in a more free-flowing, discussing way, because both of those series are going to have more dedicated content on my channel going forward. That is a priority. What else have I been doing on the channel this month? Oh yes, I did a big discussion of The Wandering Inn, which is a channel that's really important to me. Interestingly enough, I was thinking about my top 10 videos. I would not put The Wandering Inn on my top 10. But that's not to say I don't like it, because I love it to pieces. It's almost as though it kind of exists in its own separate sphere. I don't really think of it in terms of series, because it is just the rolling, continuous thing that I have going on in my life. And I was just so pleased to see that the community seemed to enjoy that video. And although I felt like I was rambling and wittering, were appreciative and very kind to what I had to say. I've also done some self-introduction videos, Booktube newbie tag, and I think my my massive TBR that I'm never going to get to, because on this list are actually 2 new books, I believe, that I want to get to next month. So what have I been reading on the channel? So, on the channel and off the channel, let's qualify that. Because one of the main things I've been reading this month is One Piece. I think I'm about to approach chapter 150, something like that, but I don't think I'm going to be talking about One Piece on this channel. I don't think my opinion is strong enough yet. I am enjoying it, but people seem to adore this work, and I would not want to just put out a review that is not tepid and not negative, but just not as pleased as most people seem to be. I don't think I have much to contribute so far to the One Piece fandom. I think the best thing to do is just to maybe make this my own private, comfortable, cozy reading experience that I'm enjoying, but I don't feel like I need to say a whole lot about. But in behind the scenes, I am reading One Piece. If that is something you would want a video on, do let me know. Or if someone wants to talk to me about it, I'm glad to do that too. Because there are some moments in One Piece that I adore, but on the whole, I think there are series that I'm finding personally a bit more preferable. I'm excited to see if that changes, because I do have about 950 chapters ahead of me. So we'll find that out together, or not, as the case may be. I've also read The Golden Fool, as I mentioned. I have read The Darkness, that comes before, by R. Scott Baker, and I have not put out a review of this, although I adored it. As much as you can adore a book like this, and I've heard that the next few books are even more bleak and even more nihilistic and negative, and There's this whole strand that comes through this book about the extent to which we have free will, and if everything is just preordained by the darkness that comes before, by the episodes in our lives and the lives that have come before us, and whether we are just rolling down that track. And regardless of the content that is in this book, which is also very heavy, that thought in and of itself is quite darkly captivating. I only haven't put out a review on this book because I read it just before I made my channel. Same with Lonesome Dove, which I read in the weeks before making this channel. Didn't have any notes on it, but that might be coming. I've got the Warrior Prophet downloaded. That is coming, and I think some more R. Scott Baker channel discussion will be happening on the channel going forward. I have also been reading, and this is why my reading month on Goodreads looks a bit slow, 2 absolutely colossal books. I have been reading Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. I've got 9 hours left on the audiobook. That's another book I'm not sure I'll be talking about too much. Again, I feel like everything has already been said online about that series, and I don't know if I have anything original to contribute. I think the criticisms are valid, I think the positives are valid, and I'm left just with this kind of middling space where I have been enjoying my time with it, but maybe it's better just to let that one rest. Don't need to talk about absolutely everything I'm reading, and that is one that I think maybe just leave it to the side. I have also, though, been reading The Last Light, which is book 5 in The Wandering Inn, which is the longest book I've ever been reading. It clocks in, I think, about 1,791 pages, something like that. And I've been having a great time with that. I think I'll have that done in the next few days. I've got about 600 pages left to go on it. But as you know, if you've been reading The Wandering Inn on Kindle, the pages go like that. It almost feels like you're reading like a manga or something like that in terms of the speed. It's great. I'm loving it. And it feels like a series of almost shorter novels, so it's really easy to pile through and you never get bored with it. I think what I'll do next month is I might just read the graphic novel, The Last Tide, I believe it's called, in The Wandering Inn, to give myself a little bit of a palate cleanser while still keeping that momentum going. And the last thing I've been reading this month, and I'm about halfway through it, is Cixin Liu's Ball Lightning. I'm not loving it, which is strange because The Three-Body Problem is one of my favourites. The Remembrance of Earth's Past is one of my favourite series of all time. I'll probably put it maybe 6 or 7 in the top 10, something like that. You'll find out when I put out my top 10 video. But Ball Lightning just feels scientific jargon heavy, and that science is not really hitched to anything in the plot, unlike A Remembrance of Earth's Past, where it feels like the science is directly correlated to the momentum of the characters in the plot. And it also feels like Cixin Liu in Ball Lightning wants to make it a character study, but isn't his strength as a writer. So although I adore Cixin Liu, maybe Ball Lightning is something that will be a bit more of a negative review. You'll find out when I finish it, and I'll probably post that at the start of next week if this voice continues. So that's what I've been reading. But I think more importantly, what is coming up next for the channel, and what do I have here? What are the books that I want to read? Now, I should say this TBR, these 3, I'm only going to read one of them. These 2 are certain, and there's one more that is absolutely certain that I will read this month after I've finished with the books I've got going on right now. So the first one I'm definitely reading this month is The Way of Idan by Philip Chase. And I am happy for an opportunity to read this book because I actually own 2 copies of this book at home. I own both the original publication and I own the broken binding edition because I like to support Philip Chase. I think he's a really good booktuber, and I know I will be getting to this book at some point, and I know I'm going to enjoy this book at some point. And I've decided to make it next month because I'm going to be starting a new series on indie authors and discussing, hopefully with the authors themselves, their writing process, the books they've created, and where those books have come from. That is something to look for next month. I am going to be so happy when I can give you more details on that, but kind of anticipate that in about 3 weeks' time. So The Way of Idan is going to be read. I am so happy to be having a chance to read that book, actually, because I've been carrying that copy around for ages. I left it at home last time I came home, and now I have a chance to enjoy it and discuss it as well. So I'm really excited for that. The next book that is a non-negotiable on my TBR is a reread of This Inevitable Ruin. Now, I will not be, the Dungeon Crawler Carl Book 7, I should say. Now, I won't be reading this copy. As much as I love it, I'm going to be doing the audiobook. So, as I said on my tier list ranking of Dungeon Crawler Carl, I read book 7 in about a 3-day travel binge. And I had the best time with it, as much as I could be having at that time, which was quite a negative week in my life. But Dungeon Crawler Carl Book 7, I just loved it. And I haven't put out a dedicated review of it, partially because I read it a couple of months ago, but also because I'm worried that my experience of reading it was tainted by the time I was having while reading it. My grandmother was very sick at the time, and she has since passed away. And reading Dungeon Crawler Carl Book 7, This Inevitable Ruin, really gave me some joyful escapism at a time that I really did feel like I needed it. So I'm going to do this and also, you can't really review Dungeon Crawler Carl without talking about Jeff Hayes, can you? That man is just fantabulous, magnificent, and his voice acting is the best in the business. So I'm going to listen to Jeff Hayes' narration of Dungeon Crawler Book 7 by Matt Dinneman. And then at the end of this month, I'm expecting to put out a review of that, having read the book twice. So please look forward to that. And the final book that is a non-negotiable on my TBR is Blood Over Brighthaven. And I bought this book yesterday because I'm very excited to announce that I'll be doing my first book discussion on the channel within the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping, with a fellow newbie booktuber, which is Anna from Dreaming Stories. I'm really excited to be talking to her. I believe, actually, Anna was my first comment on my first video. I take that with a pinch of salt. She was definitely in the first 3. Again, started about the same time as me. Really intelligent person with an extremely eclectic book taste. And she recently read The Sword of Kaigan. And she's told me, listen, let's do a collaboration and let's do it on ML1, because she's looking for an excuse to read Blood Over Brighthaven. I'm looking for an excuse to start ML1. What better opportunity to do it? So I will read that. I might put out an independent review of it, or I might just have that discussion with Dreaming Stories and leave it there, but I will link her channel in the description below. She definitely deserves your time. Now, the final 3 books I have here, I'm only going to choose one. I'm traveling to India for about a week at the end of February, if I can get these visas sorted. Excuse the call to prayer in the background. I don't know which one. I don't know which one to read, because I've had all of these 3 books for at least a year, and I really want to read them all, and they're all pretty thick, and I don't know which one to go for. The first one is kind of an obvious one, which is Fool's Fate. Maybe it makes sense just to finish The Tawny Man before anything else. I have, without looking at the pages, just looking at the page numbers, it's about 800 pages long. I have really, really enjoyed Tawny Man. It's been my favourite trilogy by Robin Hobb so far. When I'm travelling, what better time to knock this one out and not have to worry about work or anything like that, but just enjoy this book for what it is and have that trilogy under my belt, which would be a really exciting thing to do. Perhaps that's the way to go. Or Dan Simmons. Dan Simmons is one of my favourite authors of all time. Hyperion, his original Hyperion within the Hyperion Cantos, I found utterly spellbinding and captivating. And then his book, The Terror, which I read the following year, again, same thing. I just thought it was a wonderful book. I can't believe it's been 6 years since I read both of those books, actually. They desperately need to reread. But I'm closing in on having read all of Dan Simmons' complete bibliography. I think I've only got about 10 books left. And Druid is one of them. Now, this is a story, as a lot of Dan Simmons' books are, kind of riffing off real history to kind of craft his own horror novel. The Terror is like that. His less famous work, The Abominable, is also about that. It's about mountain climbers in the 1920s trying to summit Everest and encountering some horrible shenanigans on the way. Oh, maybe I should do a review of The Abominable. Anyway, Druid is an adaptation of, my understanding is, The Mystery of Edwin Drood itself, the unfinished novel by Charles Dickens, and also an adaptation or a riff off of the last weeks of Charles Dickens' lives and how those two kind of mesh together. It doesn't seem to be one of his more popular works, but it seems like it's going to be right up my alley. The Terror is possibly one of my favourite standalone novels of all time. If this is 25% as good as The Terror, I think I am going to have a magnificent journey reading this thing. And again, what better time on a beach somewhere in a new city than to just kind of give it the time it deserves. So there's that one. And the final one that I really want to read, because I've had this hardback for a while, I don't think I can take it with me in a suitcase anymore without reading it, is Stephen King's Fairy Tale. I've read 50 or 60 Stephen King novels. He's one of these authors that I'm closing in on his bibliography, much like Dan Simmons. Fairy Tale is not one of the ones I've read. And I've heard, again, middling things from the fandom, but even a weaker... oh, that's not true. The weakest Stephen King novels are absolute garbage. Under the Dome, Cell, The Colorado Kid. Fight me. But apart from those 3 or 4, the rest of Stephen King's 60 or so books, when they are good, they are just amazing. And even the ones that are kind of in the middle of the road are still a really good read. So Fairy Tale is something I've had my eye on for a while. I don't know the last time I read a hardback Stephen King. I think it was Dr. Sleep when I purchased that back when I lived in the States 10 years ago. I went out to Barnes & Noble and bought that specially. Usually my Stephen King reading experience is a really cheap secondhand mass market paperback, which is in some ways the best way to read Stephen King. But if I have this hardback, I kind of want to do it justice and give it a read. So those are the 3 I'm considering reading. I cannot get to all 3. I would perish. But I would like to at least read one of them. So if you have an idea, if you've read one of them and you think it's worth my time, let me know. The Golden Fool's Fate is absolutely coming soon, but the other ones, it could be in a couple of weeks, or it could be in a few months, or even a few years. So let me know if you think it is worth my time. But that is what has been going on in the channel. Again, as I say, in the next month, you can expect more reviews. I think I might do a couple of rankings of just my general perception of modern fantasy as a whole, and which ones I've read, which ones I haven't read. And I'm really looking forward mostly just to talking and interviewing some people, all these friends that I've made behind the scenes and people I've been chatting to. I'm really excited to have those conversations, which I won't disclose all of them, but there should be 2 or 3 conversations with fellow booktubers coming up in the coming weeks. So overall, very positive. Forgive me, I know this video has been especially, what's the word, amateurish with the table and the sickness and the iPhone, but generally speaking, I've been enjoying myself immensely. And I'm really glad that I decided to do this thing that I've been wanting to do for literally years, and I don't really see it stopping anytime soon. I don't think I'm going to run out of steam on it. So thank you very much for your time. I will see you in the next one. Look out for my subpar review of Ball Lightning when it comes. Peace.